Welcome into the December 1st episode of the Locked On Leafs podcast. Holy crap, it's December 1st. Time really flies, people. I'm Mike DiStefano with David Morassutti. Leafs beat the Sharks 3-1, keep the winning streak rolling. Mitch Marner joins a historic club in the process. We'll break it all down on today's edition of Locked On Leafs.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, one-stop shop for all things Leafs. I'm your host, Mike DiStefano from TSN 1050 Toronto Radio, also known as Al's brother on TSN's Overdrive and Leafs Lunch. Joining me, it's my co-host, Dave Morassutti from Sportsnet, also a writer for the NHLPA. Locked On Leafs, the daily Maple Leaf Center podcast, so be sure to subscribe for free wherever you get your podcast from. You can also now catch us up on YouTube. Just search up Locked On Leafs, hit subscribe, and get new daily videos, new podcasts directly to you each and every day, Monday through Friday. It's all Leafs all the time here at Locked On Leafs. All right, Dave, what a night. What a night. The Maple Leafs get the win. They beat the Sharks. Mitch Marner, 18 straight games with a point now, joining the historic club of Ed Olczyk and Daryl Sittler as the only guys in Maple Leafs history. Only three dudes to get points in 18 straight games. Just an incredible feat.
It is, and you watching that's what made the end of the game so exciting because it was a really low event game. The start of the game was really interesting, but then you're just like, all right, is he gonna do it? How they're gonna have him try to do it? Like that power play, you just thought everybody was like, all right, where's Mitch?
Yeah, Mitch got to get his touch. Mitch got to get his touch for sure. Yeah, you could tell.
Yeah, you could tell that the players on the team really were pulling for him, and I think that's what made it special. Is that the players on the team were pulling for him to get it. To see him get on that list with Ed Olczyk and Daryl Sittler means it's a significant deal, especially for anybody who's grown up following this team. Like, I don't think anybody would have expected Mitch Marner to be in the record books with those players. I don't think many would have anticipated that.
No, like when he was drafted.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, when he was drafted, yeah, I didn't look at him and be like, one day, Mitch Marner's going to break the streak or tie the streak rather of Daryl Sittler for points consecutive games with a point. Was not on the bingo card when he was originally drafted, but also him turning into a two-way force wasn't on the bingo card either. He's just turned into an exceptional player and one of the best Leafs of all time. Like ultimately, that's what he's becoming, and I think there's many records that he's going to break. He'll have a chance to break this record on Saturday when they take on the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are going to be in town. So that'll be really cool if he can try and do that. And Vasilevsky hasn't quite been the Vasilevsky that we were used to. So he might be able to get that done, and that would be awesome to be able to do it on home ice. I know we had friends and family in the building yesterday, probably going to have friends and family in the building today. And I don't know if you knew this, Dave. I'm sure you did, because I think we might have talked about it on the show. Sometimes I would get mixed up what we talk about here and then what I talk about on Leafs Lunch. But so the jerseys from last night's game, the retro jerseys with the patch, the Boreas Salming patch. So they're being retired, actually, and they're being sold in auction with all proceeds going to ALS Action Canada. So that piece of Leafs history, the game-worn jersey by Mitch Marner where he tied the record, is actually being auctioned off currently right now. There's 2 days left. Bidding ends December 3rd at 8:06 p.m. So that's when bidding ends, and it's already up to $15,000 for that jersey. The jersey that he made, that he tied the record in.
That's incredible. I mean, that initiative. I know that when I know we didn't discuss it, but I discussed it with some other people. We were just like, they got to do something for ALS now, like after everything that was going on with Salming. And somebody had mentioned, I saw it on Twitter too. People were like, "Oh, those patches would be nice if people could buy them, and proceeds would go to ALS." And it's like, well, I was thinking, I'm like, if we're thinking about it, the least definitely you're thinking about it. And the jersey auction, like you like $15,000 for a jersey, and like I know, collecting things, $15,000 for a jersey is a lot. But then when you notice that, it's going to charity, it makes it that much sweeter. Somebody's not just buying that jersey and likely gonna sell it after. Like, they're doing it because they want to support a great cause.
Well, they want to support the great cause, but also just want to have a piece of history. Like collectors, there's collectors out there who just will want this in their collection, right? And they don't care how much money it's going to cost them. The fact that it's going to charities is an added bonus. I mean, if I had the money, it'd be something that I would certainly be interested in. Unfortunately, 15K is just slightly out of my range. And I mean, it's there now. I can only imagine what it's going to get up to in a couple of days. That number's just going to keep growing and growing. When I went to bed last night, it was about 12,000, and it's already up to 15 by the time I woke up. So yeah, that number's growing, but it's going to a good cause, so that's fantastic. In a way, I think it's well, I guess it's the record tying. Maybe I guess he'd be able to keep, if he ends up breaking the record on Saturday, he could keep the jersey if he'd like, and it could go into the Hall of Fame, or like the Leafs Hall of Fame or whatever. They can do something with that jersey, or do something with the stick, or whatever it may be. Um, but it is pretty cool that they're going to be selling these jerseys and making a lot of money. I mean, I'm just looking right now online, and these jerseys, and you can check them out at Real Sports, is where they're selling them. But even a Justin Hall jersey's up over $1,000. Zach Aston Reese over 1,000. Kerfoot's over 1,000. Jody Bent didn't even play in the game, but he did play. He did have the retro game sweater. I think he wore in one of the other games. Maybe like that's $900 for that. Yarn Croc's 1,200. I don't know why Connor Timmins has one. Connor Timmins has not played a game with the Maple Leafs, which would make sense why his bid is very low at 850. But honestly, every single one of these jerseys right now are going for like over $1,000. Matt Murray, $1,500. I'm just curious what Austin Matthews is going for. 12,000. So Matthews didn't even make history in that jersey, and it's still going for $12,000 because A, it's going to a good cause, so people don't mind bidding up, and B, because he's Austin freaking Matthews. But that Marner one, since there definitely was history made in that sweater, that's going to go for a pretty penny, and that's going to be great. All right, let's break down the game, get to our 3 stars on the other side. But first, let me tell you guys about betonline.net. It's your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball, hockey, soccer, and esports. They got it all at betonline.net. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today and use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti with you, your host at Locked On Leafs. So outside of the record tying moment for Mitch Marner, it was, you mentioned at the top, it was kind of a low event game. Actually, the first period I thought was really high event. Actually, there was great pace, good speed, chances on both ends. I mean, Marner almost got the streak out of the way on like the opening shift. Like, legitimately had a really good opportunity on the opening shift, and Tavares kind of just puts it wide and unable to actually finish on the chance that he got. But then it really got played lockdown on both sides. They started to clog up the neutral zone, and it was pretty low event from there on out. But ultimately, Toronto able to get it out and come away with the win. And what I find, especially encouraging about that is that they're just finding ways to win games. Whether it's by dominating games, they're not playing up to par and still winning games. And then last night they just kind of grinded out a low event game and end up coming away with the win. They get a turnover on the defensive end. Camp, sends it up the other way, and Kerfoot takes a shot to rebound. Engvall puts in the back of the net. That ends up being the winner late in the game, and that allowed and set up for Mitch Marner to make his 3 attempts at an empty net and ultimately score. But that's kind of how I saw that game. It's encouraging because it's a different way for them to win.
Yeah, it is. When those games are close and the puck, you're not getting the luck you need right away, especially off the hop. Just sticking with it. Like, I thought for sure they were going to score on that power play late in the game, just by the way that they were getting open looks, getting great chances. Like, John Tavares had at least 2 to 3 great looks on that last power play alone.
Yeah.
I liked how they were.
They're really forcing touches to Mitch Marner too, and
I
I thought he did, like when Marner kind of bumped it out in front for Tavares, like that was a really good chance,
Yeah.
really good opportunity, and hats off to Aaron Dell, like that was his first game of the year, and I thought he had to make some really good saves and tight.
We were talking about a former Leaf scoring against Toronto. How about the former third string goaltender who never played for the Leafs having like a career game against Toronto? Just it just writes itself half the time. But
Did
I
he
thought
really?
I was just like, are we being serious right now? Like Aaron Dell, but then I'm like, he's probably trying to not stick it to the Leafs, but he's probably trying to make it known that he's not going to make it easy on them, and he didn't. He was part of he made some tough saves, but he made them look easy. And I'm just like, where has this guy been all year? Like all of a sudden, Aaron Dell is shutting down the Leafs for most of the game, and I do commend the Leafs for sticking with it, being disciplined. Early part, they were opening things up. They were really trying to get the offense going, and it led to some chances. I'm just like, oh, the counterattack is going to bite them in the butt, and it almost did. There was
Yeah.
that.
There was a few oopsies where Noah Gregor and they ended up, what was it, like 3 breakaways in the first period. I was listening to the post game sound and it was funny. Sheldon Keefe was making the joke. He said, "Yeah, well, Sammy said that he was ready, so we said, all right, well, let's test it," and gave 3 quick breakaways. And Samsonov said that that kind of got him back into it, but he said it was funny too. It kind of gave him a little bit more confidence and made him feel a little bit more comfortable because it was a breakaway, essentially a shootout, but the breakaway that he got hurt on, right? The play on Brad Marchand. So to face 3 of those within the first 20 minutes of action, kind of got him going a little bit, which, you never want to be giving up breakaways, but if that's the case, I guess that's a silver lining to the little bit of defensive lapse that they were having.
Yeah, no, for sure. And um, I just look at this game and like a lot of people call this a trap game. In a lot of ways, it was like a trap game.
Yeah.
It just if you it's this Leafs, like the identity of this Leafs team or lately it just sticking as a group, especially on the defensive side, has been really, I think, really crucial to you know I think what's the most amount of goals they've allowed through this stretch. I think it was against Minnesota, right? Like
3.
3. Like how many times have we said that during the year? Like there's been game now the Leafs haven't been allowing a lot of goals as we know throughout the year, but it's also because they're not scoring a lot of goals. So you have to kind of balance that out. I like that, yes, you want to see them get more offense, but you also want to see them say, all right, if we're not going to be scoring, let's make sure we're taking care of things on the other end. And that's what I think I've liked about what I've seen so far.
Yeah, for sure. And they cleaned things up in the first period. Like you said, there was a couple of gaps which led to some big opportunities for the Sharks, but luckily Samsonov was there. They missed the net a couple of times, and then they locked things down pretty good in the second and third period, and end up coming away with the win. and that's really what you want if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs and you're coming off of a road trip. That first game back from road trips are always a little tough, right? Just kind of settling back into a groove. And the Sharks did play the night before, so maybe they had a little bit more jump and some juice because the legs they well, I guess we're just playing. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes the first period, the team that played the night before, is a little bit better because there might be a little bit of rust to kick off that Toronto had, and it seemed like maybe that was the case last night. All right, Dave, why don't we take another break? When we get back into it, we'll get to our 3 stars of the game. You listen to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti, your one-stop shop for all things Leafs here. Oopsies. Leafs with a 3-1 win over the San Jose Sharks. That's now 5 wins in a row for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Mitch Marner ended up making history, 18 straight games with a point, tying Ed Olchuk and Daryl Sittler as the only guys in Leafs history to do that. So absolutely amazing feat done by him. Let's go through our 3 stars of the game like we do for each and every victory here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. So why don't we actually, you know what? Before we start, I do want to give a quick shout out here. I'm going to pull up her name, but everyone's getting the raps, the Spotify raps.
Yep.
They're starting to come out, what people are listening to. If we come up on your Spotify rap as one of your most listened to podcasts, really appreciate it. Let us know. We'll give you a shout out for sure. For being that. We did get one tweet I saw. Somebody took a screenshot and gave us a little shout out for being their top podcast listen. Kylie _KKM. It was her top 3 podcast. Clearly you can tell that she's a Leaf fan. It was Locked On Leafs, her number 1 podcast, Leafs Lunch, her number 2 podcast, and then the Steve Dangle podcast is her number 3. So clearly she's a big Leaf fan. Shout out to Kylie. Thanks so much for listening.
Our new favorite listener.
What's that?
She's number 1 listener now. Our favorite.
Yeah, that's right. Kylie, you're our favorite listener. So if you want to become our favorite listener, send us in your Spotify raps and see if we're number 1. Because right now, she's number 1 for us. So we're number 1 for her. So she's number 1 for us. Speaking of number 1s, let's get to our 3 stars of the game, Dave. We'll start at number 3, though. Who's your 3rd star?
I'm going to go a little off the board here. I'm going to go with Mac Hollowell.
Yes, I had Mac Hollowell as well.
Damn, I thought I was going to be I thought you were going to go with Matthews or something. That's why I was going with Hollowell. But he was not expected to play in this game. We were fully expecting Connor Timmins to play in this game. Hollowell would take the seat. What does he do with the opportunity to stay in the lineup with an absolutely ridiculous play on the Austin Matthews goal? He's starting to gain his confidence after, he's trying to test his water, get used to playing in the NHL. Now he's like, I'm here. Let's start to make some plays. And that was nice to see from Mac Hollowell. I'm pretty stoked by what I've seen from him. It hasn't been perfect, but he hasn't had any glaring errors that we've you usually see from rookie defensemen. So I like what I've seen from him.
Yeah, I think in that first game he got walked by Gino Malkin. But outside of that, he has been really good. He certainly has been. And you just look at the numbers last night. He was on the ice. The Leafs outchanced the Sharks 12-5 in scoring chances last night when he was out there on the ice. They controlled the possession game, the shot share, shot attempts were all in favor of Toronto when he was on the ice. He was on the ice for both goals last night for the Toronto Maple Leafs that they scored. So, he was real solid. And Austin Matthews noted it, the goal that he scored to open up the scoring, just a high IQ play, right? Just a slap pass. Notice that Austin was going to the net, kind of had his stick on the ice and a little slap pass, and he's able to deflect that into the back of the net. So just a really smart play by Mac Hollowell. And, it's plays like that that'll keep him in the lineup. I know we want to see Connor Timmins play, but I think Sheldon Keefe mentioned this a week or so ago when talking about Nick Robertson, and I'm sure the same thing applies. He needs to find reasons to take guys out of the lineup to get Timmins in, and Mac Hollowell's not giving him an opportunity to take him out of the lineup. So good on him. He's played fairly well in the games that he's played, and Austin Matthews wants you to know the team is undefeated with Hollowell in the lineup. So
Big Mac. Big Mac's done.
Big Mac or cheese. I think they call him cheese too. I think like a mac and cheese type of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, mac and cheese would have been, if he just said mac and cheese, I would have gone. If they just saying cheese, I'm going to have to think a little more about it.
They do. They call him cheese. Like I want to say maybe Jumbo gave him that nickname. Jumbo, I think. Joe Thornton, I believe, way back when Jumbo was part of the team. All right, second star of the game.
Second star has to be Ilya Samsonov.
Yeah, we got the same stars today, pal.
Yeah, like first game back from a knee injury, doesn't have a lot of goal support, and he picked up right where he left off. You get concerned when a player's on a lengthy layoff. How are they gonna be when they're in that first game back? He was solid right from the get go. It wasn't an easy game. Like those aren't easy games for a goaltender where it's a low event, not a lot happening, but like high danger chances can, buck for up. Like I thought it was just a solid effort for him. Like it was nice to see that now there's two goaltenders we can be very comfortable with in the net.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how that kind of unfolds with two guys who are rolling, and hopefully they can continue to roll by this whole tandem, because they've been rolling with the starting job when they're playing consecutively, getting into a rhythm, getting into a groove. Hopefully they'll be able to keep it up by kind of going every other game or however it ends up getting split up. We'll see what happens there. It's kind of something that I'll be interested to try and track. But Samsonov was my second star as well. Ended up making 23, 24 saves. Goals expected was 2.5, so only allowed one. And clearly early on was tested with those breakaways, which he was ready for the task. And the first one in particular on Noah Gregor, makes the stop and then has to make a rebound save as well, right? So he makes the second save on top of the first one. So he was ready to go. He was tested early, and then he was there to make the saves when needed to. And Sheldon Keefe gave him credit. The first goal that he allowed, he had made the adjustment, and there was a very similar play and opportunity from the back of the net, little pop bump out in front, and he made the save in the third period after making those adjustments, in-game adjustments. So shout out to Ilya Samsonov coming back, getting the win, picking up right where he left off. So for sure, he gets the second star for us, which leaves Mitch Marner on the board, probably, I'm assuming, for yourself, because he's my first.
No, it was Mitch Marner.
Yeah, Mitch Marner, go off.
Like it was just nice to see how the team reacted when he scored that. When he got that, like his reaction on the bench was hilarious. Like you can tell he was just like not only physically exhausted, but mentally exhausted. And then players kind of embrace. It was such a heartwarming thing.
I mean, third time's the try, though. Like at that point, it was like, Mitch, what is going? Like the first opportunity, he passes it off to Bunting, and it's like, Bunting, what are you doing, pal? And even he said, yeah, not a high IQ play on that one. And he's like, and typically when you give away like that, the puck goes down the ice, and bad things happen. But then the second time, he just skates it over center ice and gets a little excited, and he shoots it, and it goes wide. And I'm thinking, oh, this guy's not going to get it. Like there was almost 2 minutes on left on the clock when he was out there. I'm like, he's either going to play the entire 2 minutes here, or he's going to stay on the ice until he gets that point. And then Kerfoot kind of picks off a play and springs him for a bit of a breakaway, and he gets an easy little just tap it in. Little Happy Gilmore, tap it in, crossing it over the blue line, and does finally score. And you saw the relief on his face where he's like, oh my God, like I can't believe it took me three chances to score this goal and keep the streak alive. But it's alive, it's well, and he can try and break it on Saturday. But either way, he had a good game all around. Like he had his chances to break that streak many times throughout the game. But again, to your point, credit to Aaron Dell for being pretty solid in goal. And not only that, got some puck luck, I would say. A couple of bars, some stuff that leaked past him that squeaked past the goal line. So a little bit of luck also on his side, but ultimately not enough as Toronto was able to put him away and get the win. Pierre Engvall did score. He was credited with the game winner. And it's funny too, because Engvall, I was like chatting with my roommate and I was kind of giving him the gears. I'm like, man, I was such a big Pierre Engvall fan a year ago, and he's just really losing me as president of the fan club. He's just not doing a whole lot this year. He's a guy who's just not, using his body. Seems like he's allergic to body contact. He's not scoring. Boom, legitimately, as we're having this conversation, he ends up scoring and the game winner. And it was kind of funny. I was like, just kidding. I love Pierre Engvall back on his. He's back in the good books. Let's go. So that was kind of funny. So an honorable mention, I guess, to Engvall for getting the game winner there. But I also would prefer he would get into the mix a little bit more, just because this guy honestly is seemingly afraid of contact. But anyways, all right, Dave, why don't we wrap things up there for today? I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcast platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti and follow the show at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll tee up the game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, a chance for Mitch to break the record and really make history. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.